I discovered Elliott Smith. I also discovered all music in college because in high school, I was listening to, classic rock that my
Mhm.
parents introduced me to, and Fish and Dave Matthews. so, so
Okay. My name's Adam, and this podcast is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new record you have coming out next month.
awesome.
Cool, cool. I do remember actually. I used to work at Live 105 in San Francisco. And
You
Aaron used to
did?
play. Yeah, I used to play you
Oh,
on the air quite a bit for sound check.
no way. Yeah, that's like Live 105 is a big one for me. Yeah. Did you go to pop scenes and stuff?
Oh yeah. I was only
Nice.
up there from. I was only on the station from 2009 to 2012. But I did
Great.
mainly weekends and overnights and middays every once in a while. But yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, those were great. Those were the years. So this was like when it all started.
yeah, I know. And I saw your name and I was like, oh, awesome. I remember. And I think you played a BFD or one or two, didn't
Yeah.
you? Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought
Maybe
so.
two. I played the like I don't know if what it was called, but it was like for unknown artists stage, that thing.
Yeah, the subsonic tent. Was it that
Yes.
one?
And then
Yeah.
maybe a year or two later I played one of the big stages. It was really amazing. Like with Imagine Dragons, Group Love, Walk the
Oh
Moon.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was like, what?
I know you look at some of those lineups that were like in those, that was probably like an outside stage, right? I mean, it
Yes,
was like,
yes.
you'd have like the two outdoor stages set up and
Mm-hmm.
that would be the lineup. Yeah. Imagine Dragons and
It was
Walk the Moon
insane. Yeah, it's
or
like
Young
all
the
these
Giant.
bands. Yeah. Aaron is pretty impressive. He like really understands what's gonna be like good. It's
Oh
amazing.
yeah, he is a legend tastemaker. And
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
for San Francisco, I mean, he knows that city like the
Yeah.
back of his hand and
It's
he knows
awesome.
he can pick talent. Like, yeah, he's awesome. And
Yeah.
did you? I don't know if you saw. I'm sure you did. That Live in '05 no longer exists
Yeah.
at all
Yep, yep,
anymore.
yep. I
I
know.
mean, it changed to like alt 105.3, and now it's called like Dan FM. It's something some random name.
Dan bought it? Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, Dan. I mean, it's some like generic name FM. I think it's Dan FM. But
Dan
anyway,
FM. And it's just this guy just sort of talking. He's like, so that was Led Zeppelin. Like
of course. Oh man. Well, are you from San Francisco originally?
No, I'm from New Jersey.
Oh, okay. So
Um,
born and raised in New Jersey?
yep. And then I moved to San Francisco in 2004 or 5.
Oh, okay.
2005. Yeah.
So what was it like growing up in New Jersey then?
I mean, New Jersey, like, I think New Jersey is an amazing place to grow up because everybody loves having a place to, like, I need to escape and see the real world,
Of
and New
course.
Jersey's perfect for that because it's actually a lovely place,
Hmm.
It's like farmlands mostly. Nobody thinks about that. And yes, there is that turnpike, but that's just one street in the state. But it's like a beautiful, safe, and lovely place to grow up if you're in the suburbs.
Hmm.
Our city, we're not very proud of our cities. Um, but yeah, it was great to have something to like want to leave, basically, and that kind of pushed me out into the world because I just always wanted to experience everything. And so, it was just like sort of a classic American upbringing, just like
Hmm.
running around with kids outside, getting drunk in the woods and like, yeah, it was pretty great looking back, but when I was there, I hated it.
Of course. Right.
Yeah.
There's a cool music scene in Jersey too.
Like Hoboken, or I'm
Like,
unaware of the music scene there other than of course Bruce Springsteen.
yeah. Well, isn't it like Princeton or around there?
That's where like basically I grew up like maybe 10 minutes away from there.
Yeah. So like Saves the Day was from there and some of those
Oh yeah,
other
some of those guys went to my high school.
really? Okay. So
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah, Saves the Day was like our heroes. And then and then I got to meet them. Like when I went to San Francisco, there was all these weird connections of people. And then some
Hmm.
friends that I made in San Francisco had grown up with like the lead singer, and then I realized that the drummer lived down the street from me when I was growing up, and then we became buddies, and yeah, it was
Oh,
interesting.
wow. Were they older, younger than you? Like, you said you went to high school
Maybe
with them?
Well, they were maybe like 4 years older than me, maybe five.
Oh, okay. So they were out of high school at this
They were
point.
gone. Yes, they were gone by the time yeah, but they were legendary.
That's cool. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So did you grow up around Princeton then?
I did. I grew up like I would Princeton was like 10 minutes away, so that's like
Mhm.
where we would go. That's where I first had a French onion soup. It's
Very nice.
yeah, when I felt very cosmopolitan. But yeah, my buddies and I would go there. That's actually where I played my first show ever in my life, like as a singer-songwriter, which it certainly was. I like had a Ovation guitar, and I got all my friends to come to a coffee shop, and I just like played my songs. I think it was like maybe 16.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
That's rad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So Princeton was a great place to have around. Yeah.
I would imagine, yeah, there's probably quite a few places to do little open mic nights around that area.
Yeah,
At least
and
if
I
it's a
don't know.
college town. I've never been there, but I would just
Yeah,
assume.
I don't know how I made that happen. I guess I just asked him. A lot of gumption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so that was 16. When did you get into music?
Well, I mean I started taking piano when I was 6. But that wasn't like, my choice. I think it was just sort of like cool,
Yeah.
And I was singing I guess at church. Was the first time I was like, this is really fun, It's just like the
Hmm.
way this feels in my throat. And then I consider like my my sense of music beginning at age 9 when I started taking the saxophone. So I remember my
Okay.
parents were like, what instrument do you want to play? And I was like, saxophone. Like I had no idea, but like you're just like, yes, the saxophone, and then that decides basically the rest of your life. It's funny, those decisions. But yeah, there's all these pictures of me like really scrawny in my underwear with a towel stuffed in the bell, just like, just like pure hell for the first 2 years for my parents.
Of course, right?
Yeah,
Was
but
that
then
like
that
in end of elementary school? Like, is that because
think
I
it's third grade, I think.
okay, you
Yeah,
get to pick one of the like 6 instruments that they offer.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, you don't have to pick the one that nobody else has already picked. And you're just
Well, that's
like
where I got stuck. I wanted to play the saxophone, just I don't know why. I thought
clarinet.
it looked cool. That's what I got stuck with.
No one wants to play the clarinet.
Yeah, I didn't. I got stuck with the clarinet.
However, you can play the saxophone if
Yeah,
you
because
can
it's
play the
got the
clarinet.
reed, right? The
Well, no,
reed
I think it's
instrument.
almost the same exact fingering too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
See,
we
I
can
didn't get
play
that
the
far.
flute and the clarinet and the saxophone. I've been working on the flute a lot, actually. It's like a little different, but
The flute is a cool instrument. That just
very
was like what all
cool.
the girls would play,
Isn't
and
that
it's
odd?
weird. Yeah.
Like
See,
a genderizing instrument.
like an instrument,
Like,
right? Like in 5th grade, we're
yeah,
genderizing instruments.
it's like, oh, that's for girls. Okay.
Well, I will say though, when I got the clarinet, I had friends that they got earlier picks or whatever, so they got the saxophone. When we'd had band on like in like one day a week or whatever in elementary school, and we walked to school, so I had the clarinet and it fit in my backpack. And
Oh,
everyone else had to carry
lucky.
theirs.
Yeah,
And
just
I'm like,
lugging
yeah,
that
making
thing.
fun of me.
Yeah, you're like,
Huh?
I made a smart choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys
So,
might be cool,
right,
but I
right.
made a smart choice. And also we weren't cool. Us saxophone players. So just to
Well,
be
it looked
clear,
cool.
only the drummers were cool in band.
Yeah, but the drumming didn't even come in. I think until middle school, you couldn't play drum. At least in my
Oh,
school,
that's
you
good
couldn't play.
thinking actually on the part of the teachers.
Yeah,
You do
you
not
couldn't
want to
be
hand a
percussion.
child like
Yeah,
a loud banging
drumsticks.
instrument.
Yeah. So you started. How long did you play saxophone? Did you do that through high school?
Yeah, it became like my identity, my
Okay.
main thing. Like I was, yeah, because I was very bad at a lot of things, like the things that do make you cool, like sports, uh, basically sports.
Okay.
You know, it's just like sports is what you need to be good at when you're young. But so the like being good at the saxophone and being recognized for that, and like I feel like I was like seen as the I played an instrument the best in my whole school, and that like really helped my self-esteem, you
Hmm.
know. Um so then I just threw myself into that, and I was just like saxophone. And then I in high school I played in the jazz band. I played in like a small ensemble that like sort of gigged around town, you know.
Oh, wow.
It was just really cool looking back. I'm like, it's just the choice of my band director, um who was just like, you know what, I'm gonna give these kids who I see actually love music and
Hmm.
love performing. I'm gonna give them an experience of what it's like, and it was invaluable for me going forward. It was just like, because when I played my first shows as like me, I was
Hmm.
terrified, of
Hmm.
course, just like heart pounding. But I think, I don't know if I would have had the confidence to do it if I hadn't been, sort of like grandfathered into that experience. We
Hmm.
got to name the band. It was called Microcosm. I was
Oh,
in it
that's
with my
cool.
sister. It was great. It was cool.
What would your sister play?
Piano.
Oh,
So she was doing like McCoy Tyner stuff. She was very good. And
okay.
I wouldn't say I was doing Coltrane, but I was trying.
Pretend, hope, yeah, you're trying to do Coltrane.
Yeah.
Does she still play?
She actually passed away. I'm
Oh my
so
gosh, I'm so
sorry to
sorry.
have to drop that on you, but yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But she
Um,
did play until, into adulthood. She like accompanied the chorus in high school as well. So we had like, I was also in a small ensemble, singing ensemble,
okay,
um, called Madrigal, and she was the accompanist for that. So yeah,
that's
it was like,
cool.
it was just a lovely, like the band room was this safe haven, because high
Mm.
school is like a prison. It's like
Oh, it's
it,
rough.
it's so rough. It literally is like prison rules where where you just like the big dogs eat, and
Right,
so it
right.
was nice to have a place where there was always a little food laid out.
Sure, sure. With that band teacher, do you still stay in contact with them?
Yeah, yeah, he comes to my shows in I think he's in Boston now. Eric, if you're listening, hi, thank you. But
Yeah, that's
he's just so
cool.
cool. It's so funny when you realize, like, you're like, oh, that guy was like 22, or
Right.
like 23.
Right.
You just look at them and you're like, well, this guy's old. He's
Right.
only like a
Yeah.
few years older than you.
Yeah, he's not that much older than you,
Yeah,
right?
but he was, I mean, and he was my private saxophone teacher. So he came to my house, gave me private lessons every week.
Oh, cool.
I never practiced, but he never gave me like gruff about it, which I really, another smart move, because that's why I stopped playing piano, is because it was like I just hated practicing.
Right, right.
It's like you can't, you might love playing the instrument, but you don't love playing like, I don't know, Haydn.
Scales.
Yeah. Plus those, I think about that a lot, where it's like you shouldn't teach children classical music. Like
No,
they don't
no.
like it.
The people that I've interviewed that stuck with piano,
Hmm.
I would say a majority of them had a teacher that wasn't like slapping your hand with a ruler, teaching you,
Yeah,
technique. It's mainly like, oh, like, what do you want to learn? Oh, Octopus's Garden, or, something that like
exactly.
that would be fun for
A
a kid to
classic
learn.
piano song.
Right. Yeah. Not just like, here's a piece from Beethoven. Good
I
luck.
know. It's like it really just feels like you're doing what you're told, and you're not experiencing, like, because you have to love music first, right? It's like
Hmm.
I feel like love happens first, and then the acuity for it happens.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, if they taught me the Beatles songs, yeah, I would be so much better at the piano.
Right. Because then it's like, oh, this is cool. I'm learning songs that I can
Exactly.
actually listen to and understand, and it all makes
Yeah.
sense. And
And that's why people
yeah.
love the guitar, because they're not teaching you like Bach, like suites on the
Right.
guitar. They're just
Uh-huh.
like, here's Nirvana.
Right. Yeah. My son's learning guitar. He got a guitar, was it for not even a year ago, like six
Oh
months
wow.
ago or something. And so I have him going to lessons, and they're teaching, like, he came back the other day and they taught him Brain Stew by Green Day and My Name is Jonas from Weezer. I was like, whoa, that's so cool.
He's doing the
Just that
just the chords.
dun 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 dun, like the power chords.
That's awesome. Yeah,
but
because those are
still, like,
foundational power chords, and like you're actually learning a lot when you learn those songs, even though they're very simplistic. It's yeah,
but I was just like, wow, that's cool. He's not just like, okay, learn this scale. Do 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 do
yeah,
do. It's like he comes back and goes, oh, I can play, Brain Stew. I'm like, well, that's
exactly.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
the piano could be as cool as the guitar. It's just
Yeah.
like you just have to be like, oh, I can do anything on this, and I can play all my favorite songs.
Right. Because
Yeah,
you can do anything on the piano. It's just
anything. Yeah, it is probably the best instrument.
for
Yeah.
sure. Real quick, when did you learn guitar? I mean, it sounds like you played saxophone, obviously.
Yes, guitar. Well, my dad, who also passed away, FYI.
Oh my
Sorry.
gosh.
Yeah, I know. It's been rough. He was a guitarist. He like played in this oh, who's that guy? Herb Alpert.
Okay.
You know Herb Alpert? He didn't play
I
in a
know the
Herb
name.
Alpert's band, but he was like a
Oh,
Tijuana Brass, like a ripoff of that. So he
got
like
it.
in the 60s, he's like really little. He's maybe 16 as well, actually. And he like played guitar, and there was a guy with like a trumpet, and they played at the World's Fair in Toronto, it might have been.
Really?
Yeah, and then nothing. Then he was just like
Stopped.
well, no, he continued to be a hobbyist, but he was just
Okay.
like I think he was just so practical. He was just like, I got to get out of here. I got to make a life and a living and a family. And
Mhm.
so all the things that I've shirked as a result of that gift. But so he was always playing guitar, and we would like get like a fake book out, and he would play the chords, and then I would solo on the saxophone. So we'd play like The Long and Winding Road, and I'd be like da
Oh,
da da
cool.
da, da. Yeah. And
That is
then
cool.
I got a MIDI saxophone too, so it was like really cheesy sounds. And I'd be playing like like a Hammond organ sound on my saxophone. um but he eventually taught me the guitar. I don't know why he waited so long, actually. um I guess because I never asked, because I
Maybe
was
it's
sort
just
of like,
because
I
you're
have a
into
guitarist,
yeah,
why would I
or you're playing you're so involved in the
yeah,
saxophone too.
exactly. But then I think once I hit puberty, as so many young men do, I was like, guitar, please. And then he was like, all right, here's a few chords. And he really didn't teach me how to play. He was just like, if you ask me something, I'll teach you. Here's D, G, A, good luck. And it was interesting. I don't know why he didn't teach me, but it was cool to discover, because that was the joy of the guitar for me. Was I had no idea what I was doing, but
Mhm.
I could make beautiful sounds. And it was as if I was inventing, it was as if I was the first person who had played the instrument when I was
Mhm.
alone. Because I was like, oh, and it was this like amazing discovery experience that I really carried with me. I never learned how to play the guitar. Like just a few years ago, I started learning the notes. So I'm just walking around blind in there. But I'm like Zatoichi, the blind swordsman. It's like I can see better than you can. I, I mean,
Well,
I'm not
you
like a
have the framework for it, obviously, and you can
yeah,
hear notes, and I
yep.
mean, if playing
And then
saxophone.
that allowed me to like use my creativity rather than like just to do what other people had done. So I think that you know I'm not like a fantastic guitarist because of that, but it allowed me to develop my like individuality
Right,
within music. Yeah,
your own
I never
uniqueness.
actually thought about that before, but there's no way he did that on purpose. He's not like, he's
He's
probably
got
just
this
busy.
master plan.
Yeah, he's like,
He's like, if
I
I don't teach him
understand.
anything, he's gonna become this protege.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
started. When did you start writing songs? Pretty soon after you.
Yeah, like
Are?
immediately. Like I
Okay.
was just like, "Oh, good. Okay." And I just had so much confidence because my parents were just like filled me with confidence of my creations. So my dad got me a 4-track, which is actually right there. I just like keep it as a talisman.
Rad.
Yeah. And so I had a cassette in there, and I would just like layer and layer and like he taught me how to bounce a cassette to another cassette. So then it was like
Mhm.
endless tracks. So I have those albums that I
Do
made.
you?
Yes, and they're just like
Wow.
it's so cute. I like can't even believe it. It's just this little boy singing singing these like heartfelt love songs that he's has no reference for. But I cuz I was emulating like James Taylor, Crosby, Stills and Nash
Mhm.
and those were like my favorite. That was my favorite music other than like, radio hits like
Right.
Space Hog, I think at that time was like a big
Oh,
song for
oh
me.
yeah. In the
But yeah,
meantime.
yes exactly. But I remember hating a lot of the music that I felt I was supposed to like, and that was like confusing for me, um because you just listen to like pop radio when you're a kid. But I definitely was into Guns N' Roses, like November Rain, and
Mhm.
it's just like a random smattering of things like Sabotage by the Beastie Boys, Crosby, Stills and Nash. So yeah, I would record these songs down in the basement. That was just like my domain from that point forward,
Mhm.
Um, and then I would like bring them upstairs to my dad, and he'd be like, "Oh," and he'd like stop whatever he was doing and listen. He'd just be like, "Oh, it's so good." He was like genuinely amazed. I think like he
That's
was just like,
awesome.
"You, wow," and you listen to them and they're terrible, but like it was like I mean, he saw something in it that I think I saw as well, where I was just like, this is cool. I'll probably get good at this one day. And it took a really long time. Like I don't think I wrote a genuinely good song until after college, like until I was like 23. So
Really?
yeah, because honestly, that wealth of confidence, I
Mhm.
think worked against me because I was there wasn't a level of editorial like criticism to my writing. I was just like, I thought of it, it must be good. So
Right,
it's just like I
right.
played it, it must be good. But it was like there was no real taste going on
Mhm.
it was really just like a cornucopia. It was like a little bit difficult to look at because there's so many colors. Like there
Sure.
would be like 10 harmonies on a track and a little like hand drum and a saxophone. And you're just like, okay. No one wants to listen to that. But I sold my CDs in my high school. Like when I got older, I was like, hey guys, I made a new album. And my dad would help me with the layout and the printing and like,
That's cool.
yeah. So yeah, I like had to jump on the game in the DIY factor, which
Mhm.
also really helped me when I became, an indie musician where you have to do everything yourself. Like I never had that feeling of like, I need someone else to do this for me. And why isn't anybody helping? I was just sort of like, oh, you need a CD? Okay, I will get an attachment for that on my printer, and then we can print directly to a CD. I have a CD now, rather than being like,
Right.
you need a label, buddy, you know.
Mhm.
But I think
Mhm.
that helped me get it because that was the time for that too. In like the early 2010s, it was like,
Yeah, burning CDs
yeah,
and
DIY was like really cool. And it
yeah.
was like people actually appreciated it more than like people who were more established a lot of the time. Like if you were like, I listened to a band that no one's ever heard of and no one ever will hear of, you were cooler
Right,
than
you
the other
were,
person.
and
Yeah.
it's something that has totally changed now, and I was talking to
Yeah.
somebody about this out the other day. It's like the idea of selling out isn't even like a thing anymore to
No,
kids.
you only sell
Like,
in.
you're right, yeah, 'cause growing up, it was like, "Oh, they sold out, like, they're on a major label
Dude,
now." Like,
seriously.
now people like this band, I can't like them anymore.
Exactly. It was hard to shed that feeling because growing up in the 90s with like Nirvana,
Uh-huh.
and Radiohead, you were just like, oh, commercials are evil, and like,
Right, right.
yeah, and now you get a commercial, it like boosts your career. Like you're just
You're
like
like,
people are like, "Oh, I
"Yes!"
heard you in that Acura commercial."
Right, yeah, right,
That's why I'm
exactly.
at your show. You're just like,
Right, right.
"You mean you didn't want to never listen to me again?"
Yeah, after you heard I was on the Acura commercial, you didn't wanna just break my CD.
Right, exactly. It's pretty incredible. I mean, and it's sad.
Yeah, it is definitely different because now,
Because
I
what
mean,
it
with
Go ahead.
I was gonna say with like TikTok and Instagram and everything else, like that's what these kids are striving to do is
I
have a
know.
viral song or
Yes.
a viral video or whatever.
And TikTok is the antithesis of my ethos as an artist, which is do something wholly original. Whereas TikTok is like, this is literally a trend. It is called a trend, and we want you to do it. Whereas like growing
Right.
up, I was like, oh, that's trendy. You're a poser. Like that kind of
Right, right, yeah.
stuff.
I remember getting pissed at kid like if I bought shoes that I thought were cool, like a skate shoe that came out, and like if someone else got them, I'm like, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
because you were like, because you bought them first.
I
Like,
found them and I bought them first, and then somebody else got them. I'm like,
I don't
this
skate,
dick.
but
Yeah.
yeah, lifting me
Right.
up.
Right, exactly. But
Man,
now it's
shoes
like
were.
hop on the trend, hop on the trend.
I know,
It's
welcome. All are welcome. Which is there's a lot of positive there. I'm realizing, because it's like
for sure.
less to scorn for.
But it definitely changed
Yeah,
everything in
I
that
think
you
it's
don't.
sad because it's like it shows that musicians don't have the freedom to do whatever they want. They don't have the freedom to put the middle finger up at evil corporations. They kind of have to play the game, which I think
Mhm.
is the sad part of the modern music industry, is where you're like, there's less and less artistry going on and more just like craftsmanship, where you're just like, I make beautiful furniture rather than like, you can't sit on this thing. But it's really amazing. It's like
Right.
I see that happening a little bit. Obviously, there's tons and tons of people who are still making art, but there's like a lot less focus on that, it seems, and a lot more focus on just getting famous, which is like not the point and
Right.
not how you do it.
Right.
It's not how you help humanity with
No.
its struggle through the void. you know by
Sure.
getting famous. Like, Kim Kardashian's not helping humanity very much at all.
No, not in
Yeah,
the least. But
no.
yeah. And now the corporations are the ones that are the gatekeepers in the sense
Dude,
of like
the corporate
YouTube
wars
and
are only a few years away, I would say.
yeah. I mean, to be famous, you have to play the game of
Yeah,
YouTube and TikTok and
yeah.
all
And
that.
even me, like in indie success, like was largely because of the Bay Area, where I would play these like corporate parties of these startups when Twitter was a startup. I
Mhm.
mean, I played like this Twitter party, and then after that I had 80,000 Twitter followers, and it was just like, and Facebook parties and Google
Oh
parties, and it
yeah.
was like all of those kids then became my fans, and it was and because they were the world. So it was like I didn't have to go on tour. I just somehow everybody heard my first EP, and it's just because
Mhm.
it like just traveled. So it worked for me, but it's
Yeah.
like, and now I find myself mindlessly scrolling and feeling, smaller and smaller every day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you go to college for music or did you move to San
Well, no,
Francisco
I went
or?
to college for like in the end I majored in English, creative writing, and minored in Italian. So I
Oh
had like
wow.
a total departure from music. I actually stopped playing music when I went to college because I was just like, I am a writer now. I will be a novelist. And I was just like, I don't listen to music, I don't play music. I listen to books on tape instead of when I want to listen to something.
Oh,
And I
okay.
went on this like ascetic like journey.
Was there a reason behind it or it just
I think I just
became
like
burned
just
out?
became obsessed with novels and
Okay.
writing. The idea of being a novelist became my rock star. It was like I no longer wanted to be up in an amphitheater. I wanted to be at a very small gathering reading my beloved like work of
Right.
literature.
Okay.
So
But
I
I mean,
actually
creative
wrote.
writing's still in the vein of what
Yes.
you do now.
And like that education taught me everything I know about metaphors, and
Mhm.
it like awakened my mind and gave me a thirst for knowledge, which I carry forward today. Um, yeah, so I really value it. I took one music class, um, and loved it. I wrote, learned how to like write music, like staff
Oh, okay.
stuff, um, staff stuff. box stuff, staff stuff.
I know what
But
you're saying.
I didn't like I did eventually start gigging at college. So then like that was like sophomore year I quit music. I also had a girlfriend who was like seriously into literature and like being a
Okay.
writer. So we met in a creative writing course which I took cuz writing was always a thing for me. Like
Mhm.
English was my thing in high school, you know. So that was like a no-brainer. I also never once considered not going to college. You know, I never once considered not having like a scholastic life.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I always wanted to be a musician, you know, and I like just assumed I would be. So I don't know, it was a weird path, but there just truly wasn't an option to not take that path, you know,
Mhm.
so I did it. um but I did start playing songs I like. You know, I discovered Elliott Smith. I also discovered all music in college because in high school I was listening to, you know, classic rock that my
Mhm.
parents introduced me to, and Fish and Dave Matthews. so so
Okay.
perhaps we are seeing why I didn't write a good song until after college. You know,
Got it.
how could I have? You
Could have wrote
know,
like a 15-minute jam song.
and I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, my like Fish amalgam songs are amazing. Like I tried that one of them I tried. So I had these woods behind my house that was like a huge part of my upbringing.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, Fish. And I like went to a 3-day Fish festival and am I allowed to talk about drugs on this
Yeah,
thing?
you can talk
Okay,
about
I can
whatever
say
you want.
anything.
You
Great.
can say anything.
um and I like took mushrooms for the very first time, had awakened to how connected we all are, right? And just like saw like a golden rim around everyone and then
Uh-huh.
went home to try to like document my experience a la a Fish song, and it was
Okay.
called the Journey of Pete's Feet, right? So say no more. Then another one I tried to do was to capture the way it felt to go cross country skiing in those woods. You know, they were so small, but I would strap on cross country skis in the winter and just like it was beautiful, you know. And so I called it Tilliquintly Ivory Eyes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, Fish has Gamehenge for all my fish heads out there. That's the lore of Fish. Is like Trey wrote this thesis in college called Gamehenge, and it was like a rock opera, and it
Mhm.
had all these characters and stuff, and that is how Fish was born. So I was like, okay, my Gamehenge will be Tilliquintly. Like, so I was just like, you know, just like really going off into the stratosphere.
I love
But
that.
anyway, so in college, my friend, you know, I was introduced to indie radio, basically college radio, which is one of the greatest things in the world, you know,
Mhm.
and also is probably why I have a career. Um, but my friend who was at the radio station was like, "You got to come by, man, burn some CDs." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I was just kept being like, I would walk into that area where it's just wall to wall CDs, you know, that like tiny closet space, and just pick things up like what's Prefuse 73? He's like, oh, you don't know what that? I'm like, what are the books?
Mhm.
I'm like, David Bowie, is he any good? Like, like, oh, Brian Eno, huh? And it was so amazing. You know, that was the real education that I got. And then I went to the library. I mean, I was just like stealing music. Just like I probably stole like tens of thousands of dollars worth of CDs because I would go to the library, check out all these CDs, and even classical like oh, what's that guy's name? Doesn't matter. No one, you know, nobody knows it anyway. But just like avant-garde classical music, jazz, big band jazz, just like, oh, you know, going nuts. And then that just like filled my brain with music again. Then I started playing music. I was like trying to be Elliott Smith, then trying to be the Postal Service. But these are much better people to emulate, you know, than Fish,
Fish
who
and Dave
honestly,
Matthews.
if you're gonna put it in a positive light, you can't emulate Fish because they are utterly unique. You know,
Right.
you can't emulate Dave Matthews because he truly is very unique. Like if you think
Oh
about
yeah.
who are the most like unique vocalists, like authentic vocalists, because like Joanna Newsom, unique, but she's doing it on purpose. You know, but
Mhm.
like Dave Matt, nobody sings. Nobody, nobody's
No,
doing that.
no. He just does it. That's just
Yeah.
him.
God bless him. Yeah, so that's how I came back to music, and then
Okay.
I got into Modest Mouse and Joy Division, and then that
Oh.
was like bam. So then I was like, I'm starting a rock band, and I'm actually starting an emo band. So I like,
Okay.
even though it wasn't emo in the sense of like the style of music, it was emo in the sense of like the singing and the subject
Hmm.
matter, where like I was in love with this girl who had a boyfriend, and then I just like, I would write about those songs, and her boyfriend was there, and she was like sort of falling in love with me too because of the songs, but obviously would never be with me because I was like, you know, beneath her, that kind of stuff. It's just rife with like emo tropes.
Hmm.
And I was like, I would like, you know, rock out and scream, and yeah, I'm sorry, I'm babbling, but like to
No, I
finish the
love it.
story, it like I screamed my voice out. So like I couldn't sing for 3 months right after college. And it was like devastating. I mean, I had no idea about vocal technique to that
Hmm.
extent. I mean, I had had a little instruction the last year of high school in chorus, you know, of just like breathe from your diaphragm, but I had no technique training. So I was just
Hmm.
like singing incorrectly, you know, or like
Hmm.
in a dangerous way, like where I was like closing my throat and stuff. And I would scream at rehearsal. Then we'd have a show the next day. I'd spray my throat, which was in so much pain, with Vicks
Oh yeah,
chloroseptic
yeah.
and numb it so I could scream again. And then I'd be like, why can't I talk? And it's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So that made me change my vocal style into what it is today, where, you know, it sounds very sort of like choir boy kind of stuff, of just like, you know, it's very round, it's very open,
Hmm.
and it's not affected in any way. Like that was a really hard journey, was coming out from under loving Nirvana, Oasis, you
Hmm.
know, and Tom York, and then just bands that screamed like the Strokes, you know. And it's just like I loved that kind of singing, but it just wasn't inside my throat. I just couldn't do it. So then, you know, damaging myself, and it wasn't that bad. It was totally recoverable,
Hmm.
forced me to just decide to be myself. And then that's when the songs started to come. That's when like the vocal style started to happen. And that's when I became unique myself, you know? So it was like a really interesting journey
Hmm.
from 12 years old to 23.
Yeah. Wow. And then is that when you
Yeah.
moved to San Francisco?
Well, yeah, I moved to Boston right out of college. I was in like a band playing the saxophone. So that was my first like club shows. I played Middle East and TT the Bears, which is like these legendary venues in Boston.
Okay.
Um, and but then I quit that band because I was like, I want to do my own thing. Then my sister passed away. I moved home. So then I lived in back in that basement for maybe like 5 months. And obviously, with all the pain, I
Hmm.
just threw myself into music again. And I was just like I was when I was a kid. I was like in the basement every single day writing songs. And I eventually wrote one of the songs that became a Geographer song. And then that was like, oh my God, I think I wrote a good song. And that was like Arcade Fire time for me. It was like
Hmm.
Arcade Fire, Interpol. Um, then my friends rescued me, and they were like, because they moved to San Francisco right after college. So then, but they lived in Philly. So they were like home one time, and they were like, we're taking you to San Francisco because your life here is very sad. Like I was working at an ad agency, and you know, just like as an intern, and then got bumped up, and I was like, I guess I don't know. You know, it's just like
Yeah,
so
just
distraught, and
right. I mean,
just
you
going
went
to a
through
bar every
something
night.
super traumatic. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
even think about
I mean,
that
it
or
it
imagine
messed
that.
me up to you know, still haven't recovered, you know?
Right.
But it like I really owe those guys like everything, because they just stuffed me in a car, took me there. I took like that no, it's not there anymore. It's right here. I took one synth, uh my electric guitar didn't, or my acoustic guitar didn't even have an electric guitar. And then I went to San Francisco. And then that was like I started playing open mics there, and then that's how I met my first band and my first friends. And yeah, then the whole thing opened from there.
Wow. Is that when Geographer really started? Was in San Francisco?
Yeah, I was like I started a band with one of the guys from college, but we never played a show live. We played one we had a Halloween party and we played at it. So it was sort of like a hostage concert.
Right, right.
You know, the kind of like high school style where I was in another band with my friends in high school and we would just be like party at Dave's house, everybody could get drunk there, and then it was like also you have to listen to our band.
And we're playing. I
And
love that.
it's a dub reggae band. Is that okay? Yeah, and then yeah, so just like at first I was Mike Deni, you know, I was like performing like that because I was just a guy with an acoustic guitar
Hmm.
doing sad bastard songs. And then eventually I just wanted to expand the sound, and you just kind of you don't really make choices when you're that age. You're just like, "Oh, you play the cello? Yeah, come here." You know, it's just like it's
Hmm.
not like I must have a cello. Like I was actually looking for like an accordion, you know, like
Hmm.
things like that. I was trying to go like it's like chamber pop.
Okay.
Um so then I like got this band together, and it was kind of like a shared band between me and this girl Casey Johansson, who's an artist as well now. Just probably one of the most amazing female voices that has ever existed. She just gorgeous voice, really special talent. And so we would, you know, I would write some of the songs, she would write some of the songs, and then we would combine them, and then we were like, let's record an album. So we went into Hyde Street Studios because her friend from Berkeley, because she went to Berkeley School of Music, which actually
Hmm.
both of my other band members did too. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
how they all knew each other. So then I'm
Okay.
surrounded by these like incredible musicians, you know.
Uh-huh.
Um, he was an engineer at Hyde Street, so he was like, "Yeah, come in. I'll give you like, you know, I'm trying to build up my portfolio, so this is important." And we're all pretending that we know what we're doing, but like, I'm just like shitting myself because I'm just like, "Oh my god, I'm in a studio. Like, I'm so scared. Like, everything was scary to me. Like, it was
Well,
just like,
you had never done that before.
oh yeah, and like when you first form a relationship with a microphone, you're just like, I here, this captures my soul. You're like,
Right, right, right.
do I send my soul into it, towards it? Like, you know, I, yeah, I was really scared like the entire time.
Uh-huh.
And then, sorry, my light went out.
Oh, good. I can still
um,
see you.
nice. And then you know, but I had this like indomitable spirit where I forced myself to do the very things that scared me the most. Like I was like, I took a lot of hits, you know, in life because then my dad passed away shortly after my sister, like maybe like a year and a half after, and it was just like I didn't know life worked that way. You know, it was like I
Hmm.
thought you got a break. Um, but I was just like I just refused to like give up on my dreams, and like basically my main dream was like have a full life, like have like a meaningful existence, because
Hmm.
I was obsessed with meaning, you know, and like what does life mean? Why am I here? You know, just
Hmm.
obsessed with it. And that was the time when I thought I could actually figure it out. Now I know that I can't. So now I'm working on a different conundrum, which is like, how do you satisfy yourself when you know that there is no purpose and that there is no quote unquote reason that you're here? Let's move past that. What are we doing here? You know, that's what I'm working on now. That's what the songs are
Okay.
about now. But before they were about like, you know, taking stabs at what the meaning was. um, but yeah, I just like also I was terrified of dancing. I was like I would go to a club with my friends and dance and just like heart pounding terror until I desensitized myself to it. Then I was terrified of playing shows, but I like really just like couldn't even really hear,
Hmm.
and then eventually desensitized myself to that. So I think it was like the band really helped me as a person as well, because I just had to face so many fears through it, of just like being social and like putting myself out there, you know? And like the last bastion was crowd surfing. I was just like terrified to crowd surf. You know, because I was terrified to fail. but a
Uh-huh.
huge part of being an artist is failure. So I think that was like really integral. But then I crowd surfed at Outside Lands when we played that. Just so scared, blacked out, did it, and then before you know it, I'm like stiff as a board in like a straight up Jesus pose, like out in the middle of the crowd. And there's this like epic photo taken by a photographer, Paige Parsons, and it's like legendary. It's
That's cool. That is cool.
yeah.
When you said crowd surf, I didn't know if you meant as the artist or just like at a show, like lift me up. You know,
Oh no,
people
no,
do
as the
that.
artist of like
Yeah.
diving. But then I got like sort of addicted to it, and that I went on tour after that, and every show I would crowd surf
That's awesome.
until there was a there was a crowd that was a little light in Chicago. I did it
Uh-oh.
anyway. Not good. I
Was
like
it like everyone moved?
no, they tried, but they were just
Okay.
like it really was the because when you distribute your weight over 10 people, no problem. But this was like
Right.
maybe three. So I was like and I ended up I like the back of my heel like hit this girl in the forehead. And
Oh
I had
my.
like that was in the like Red Wing boot craze. So I was wearing like wooden
Oh,
boots. And that I like I didn't crowd surf for years after that because I was like really I was like,
traumatized.
okay, so let me get this straight. This girl came to my show because she loves my music, and I kicked her in the head. I'm just like that. Obviously, we like showered her with t-shirts and stuff. She came up to us after. She was like really wasted, I guess, because she was in so much pain. And she was just like, "He kicked me in the head." I was like, "Oh my god, it was you! I'm so thank you so much for." It's just like really
Here's some
frightening
shirts.
experience. His shirts will help you. Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah. Been a lot of strange experiences out there on the road.
That's awesome though. That is awesome. So with Innocent Coast, that you put a whole record out. Was that done independently?
Yeah, that was the record that happened at Hyde Street.
Okay.
And it was just us literally playing our parts. It's like very different from the way I make records now, which is like, pour over them. I basically do it all myself and like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it at home. But this one was like, we learn the songs. You are a cellist. You play a cello part. I am a guitarist. I play one guitar part. There's no layering, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like really simple. I mean, I couldn't believe it was happening. It was like such a dream. And I was like, I'm making a record. But because I had that DIY experience, I was like, I'm just going to release this myself, like screw it. So I like printed out all the CDs. My friend Liz Marr painted the front cover. That was also the time of life where you would ask your talented friends to do things for you and they'd just do it for free. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I do this for a living, so you have to pay me. Like nobody did it for a living. Everybody was just like,
Right. Just did it to do it.
yeah, I just want to do it.
Right.
Um, and it was just this beautiful experience. I had so many like friends in that group that just like rallied around it, would come to all my shows, and yeah, just putting that CD out. I guess like I'm trying to think how I like put it out. I think I probably had like a release show and then would just sell it at shows, and then that's how and like radio stations and blogs around San Francisco, like the Bay Bridge. um yeah, they kind of like there was one song on it that was like actually good. There's like some good songs on it, but there's one that I am proud of. Can't You Wait, first song. But it
Mm-hmm.
was like that was my first like minor little spark, was that
Okay.
song, where it was like people would hear that song and just be like, "Ooh, what's that?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I made a music video for it with all my friends, where I just like brought them out to the Marin Headlands. We had so like I'm like, okay, I've never made a music video before. What do I want to do? I want to do a single shot choreographed dance with 25 people. It's like perfect. So I like compiled human beings. Some were my friends, some were their friends. It was just like friends of friends, just that creative drive from everybody. I wrote the choreography like with just some
Oh
guy.
wow.
Yeah.
You did all of it.
Yeah. With the director who was just a guy with a camera. Um and then we met in my rehearsal space, which was in this big warehouse out like by the docks, and I split them up into groups and we would have them rehearse like I like planned it all out. I made them all spaghetti, you know, to like
Wow.
that was how I got them there. And then on the day, woke up really early. I had like a bag full of peanut butter and honey sandwiches. That was all the payment they needed. Coordinated everybody getting out there in cars, and there's like 25 people out on like the top of a bunker, because there's all those bunkers out in San
Yeah,
Francisco to
yeah,
prevent from the Japanese invasion um in the 40s. And
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we're all out there, and it was misty and beautiful, and then we're shooting it and like doing these one take thing, and it was amazing. You know, it's like there was a long period of time where I was really embarrassed about it, because I was like, oh, I look terrible. Like, it's so silly. The like quality is terrible. But I'm like, now I'm so proud of it, because it's like, look at that. Like, look what you
Yeah.
did. Like, it's like, and you got all your friends together, and look at them just like really going for it. It's like very, I took a modern dance class in college. Here we go. You know, it's like
Yeah,
very
that's
like,
cool.
you know, yeah.
When you put out Animal Shapes, was that like when you started getting the radio success a little bit? Or did
Yes.
Aaron play the other record on Soundcheck? Or was
I
it
don't
not
know.
until Animal Shapes?
I would be surprised if he had played Can't You Wait. I don't think anything really happened until Animal Shapes.
Okay.
Um, but well, no, not Animal Shapes. So after Innocent Ghosts, we, you know, then the band changed quite a bit. Like Casey left the band, and then it really kind of became, that's when it became Geographer. Was Brian and Nate and myself. Um, and then we started like doing more with synths and electronics and stuff,
Hmm.
kind of because we no longer had Casey, who was a keyboardist. It was like, all right, well, what do we do with all Casey's parts? And then it was Nate's idea to be like, I mean, we can play Ableton on stage and like have her part running in the background. And I was like, what?
Oh.
Like, what are you talking about? But those two guys, because I was like sort of looked up to their musical prowess, Brian was like, yes, yeah, no, that happens a lot. I'm like, okay. So then we just did that. And then that morphed into like, let's not just have this playing in the background. Let's start looping things, and let's
Hmm.
like use it as a tool. So then that really kind of guided the writing, because I would like write for that in a way. And like Nate would come to my house and just like play a really weird drum beat, and then I'd just like noodle a song. I mean, it didn't happen a lot, but like
Hmm.
that's how the song Night Winds came to be. I just like really unique drum pattern that I really love. Um, and I started playing synth more. And then we were like, okay, it's time to put out something else. We want to put out a 7-inch. And so I had these,
Oh.
yeah. So I had these two songs. One was a cover of Age of Consent that I just made just totally in my bedroom with like with software synthesizer, FM8, which is like a basically modeling a synthesizer that I did have, but it was just
Uh-huh.
easier to use. Um, yeah, and I don't know why, I just made the whole thing in my bedroom, and then brought it to the guys, and Brian, they loved it. And then like, you know, Nate doubled some of the lines with his cello, and then added some like cool atmospheric stuff. And then you know, the arrangement changed a little bit, where it was like there was like a drop at the end, you know.
Hmm.
um and then I also had written Kites in that same bedroom, and that was the big song for me. Like, that
Yeah.
was the one.
That's what I
um
remember Aaron playing.
Yes, exactly. And then I had this like tiny little keyboard that somewhere around here, but I was just like really zenned out, and just like wrote that signature arpeggio, and then brought that to the guys, and basically that song was like done, you know, somehow.
Wow.
It was like, it did exist in other iterations, where I think I'd been playing it live with the band for maybe 1 year, but it was totally different. It was called Sad Eyed Roses, and it was like Sad Eyed Rose. It was like a totally different song, you know.
Oh,
But
interesting. Okay.
it was the idea of the song. It was like, but the arpeggio was a little different, and the melody was different. And then one day, I don't know why, I was just like, this isn't good enough. Everything needs to change. Like, the melody needs to change, the arpeggio needs to change, and I just got lucky. You know, I just like hit the core, hit the like seam at the right moment, and like
Mhm.
the oil came out. And and so we recorded them at Hyde Street Studios with the same guy, and then we put them out as a 7-inch. Got another artist to do that one, and I just like had this bit of a music scene of people that I knew, just from playing shows and like begging them to let me open for them. And one of the guys, he like introduced me to this artist, and he Drew Bennett, who's actually Beck Bennett's brother from SNL.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that kind of crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah, like I found that out a few years later. I was like, "You're bro."
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, it's crazy." Um, which is wild that just happens, like one day you have a brother and he's funny and he's in a comedy troupe in LA, and then the next day everybody knows his name.
Right. I know. Like
Yeah.
Was he in Growlings or one of the other ones?
I
Or
forget if he was UCB or Groundlings. Probably
UCB?
Groundlings. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think he actually had his own, like with Kyle, what's his name? Who's the super funny dude. Kyle. He's anyway. We
I
don't
don't know.
talk
I
about,
don't know.
but like so Drew is this amazing visual artist. He's like doing great things now. But back then he just wanted to do cool shit. So I went over his house and we like talked about the idea, and he got so excited, and like he was like, okay, I got an idea. And then came back a couple weeks later and just had that diamond pattern,
Mhm.
which has kind of also become a signature Geographer thing.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just so cool because he did it with like spray paint, I think, and did it all like physical, and then passed it off to a designer, Katie Wilson, who then turned it into the animal shapes, colors and stuff. But the 7-inch is just straight up, I think, maybe just like it was just simpler. Like Katie just did like a couple color options and then we picked one. Um,
Okay.
and then so that came out on Tricycle Records. So I must have signed to them before that, because I think at that point we were putting out demos. We knew Kites was a great song.
Mhm.
So then we would all come to my house and like stuff envelopes. We had a spreadsheet, send them out to every label that we loved. Heard absolutely no reply from anyone except Tricycle Records. So I was like, all right, Tricycle it is. So I met with Julie Shucard. She was like the head of Tricycle Records with Don Jocelyn, and she was talking to me. She was like, "So why Tricycle?" And I forget what I said. I wonder if I was like, "Well, you're the only one that saw potential in us." I don't know what I must have said, because I probably wanted to seem worth it, right? So I was
Right.
probably like, I think I probably made something up. Like, I don't know. It's just like like just a local is like really important to me.
Localism is
It's
just
just
a
like,
thing. Yeah.
you're the only one who'll have me. So it's like talking about this is just reminding me all the people that I like owe so much gratitude to, where they were just like Julie just loved music so passionately, and she loved San Francisco, and she just wanted to make a San Francisco band. She wanted to, her joy and their business model was like, we want to put you on the map, and then you go forth and have your career, and then we like reap the benefits of like the trickle down from that.
Yeah. Right.
And that's exactly what happened. And not only did she, because a lot of people, the first person they sign with, it kind of screws them over, but with
Right.
her, their contract was so generous that it gave the artist the ability to fly free. It was like, we don't have you, we're literally helping you. And it was like a pay it forward thing. It was like, by giving you your freedom, we understand that your fans will then come back to the original if it's
Mhm.
good. And like Animal Shapes is probably still my most streamed thing, and like, so it really worked out great. It was like, and when I did get signed to a bigger label, I was able to grab Kites and just remix it and put it on that, so it wasn't this like, we signed you for Kites, but we can't have it, so we don't want you. So it was like there was
Right.
no like stranglehold on me. which I really am really grateful for. But like that's when things took off, was with that 7-inch. Um,
Interesting.
isn't that amazing? It's just like
Yeah.
a 7-inch, God, and it's so beautiful. I saved one copy for myself. Um, yeah,
That's
it just
that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
because
I'm
it's
just like
crazy to think
thinking
of like
about
a
that
seven
time. Yeah,
inch because of the likelihood of you'd have to own a turntable and like
yeah,
everything else at that point. It's not like you're handing out the record and people have a
yeah,
CD player in their car or at home or
yeah.
whatever.
But it was just like it was just so hip,
Hmm.
to like to buy a 7-inch of a new band. And
Super cool.
yeah, and then we started playing like bigger shows around the bay, and then I remember the time when I was like, what's happening? That first moment where we played, it was actually the Animal Shapes release party. So we had to turn Animal Shapes around like really quick after that.
Okay.
So in just a few months, I finished, like I had all these songs, that I was like really toiling over. Like Verona took a year to do, and it was just like Kites. It was so much different. It started out as like a Beirut song, like trying to do what Beirut does, like just something that awesome. And then eventually giving up on that hope was how Verona came out. And I was like, oh, this seems to be equally awesome, but also very different. And MGMT came out around that time. So it was like, that was my wheelhouse where I was
Oh
just like,
yeah.
yes, this is popular. I was just like driving synth bass. But I was always like felt really different because I was like, I can't sing like any of these guys. But I just like sort of went for it, did my thing. And then when I noticed that like people actually were connecting with it was when we had the Animal Shapes release show at the rickshaw stop, just like where we'd played so many times before, to like maybe 30 people, but this one was sold out. And I was just like,
Wow.
what? Like like my heart just exploded. Like I was so happy. It was like my dreams coming true.
Hmm.
And the crowd was crazy. Like we played, I was like, they love us. It was such an interesting experience. And like my friends who had been sort of buoying me on their energy, coming to every show, being every show, they were like, they felt like a celebration too, because they're like, we did it. They're like
Yeah,
on top of each
totally.
other's shoulders, just like it was raucous.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then the first time I was like, oh, this is like a big thing now, was when I played the Getty. The Getty, like, I don't know if they still do, but they did a lot of really cool shows outside in the upstairs patio, and they
Hmm.
would like be like light up the wall, and then they put a stage, and then people bought tickets to it, and it was just really cool. You could walk around the Getty and like get drunk and listen to bands.
That is
Um,
cool. I'd never been to that. That's awesome.
I mean, if they do it again, yeah, it was really fun. But going to the merch table after that show and then just seeing a line of people who didn't want to buy anything, they just want to take pictures with us. Like we were amazed. Like it really was just like, what? Like it was like, you want what? Like and like we were just buzzing after that. Just the notion that you've actually done it. You have succeeded. You've made something that means as much to people as the music that made you do it in the first place means to you. It,
Mhm.
it was just yeah. I'll never forget that experience. And that was when it was like off to the races. We were rolling. It's like going on tours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 And then how did that all kind of come to a halt for you when COVID happened?
Oh
Were you
God.
on the road?
No, thank goodness. Yeah. I was like, I mean, I'd gone through the band's gone through so many changes since then. It's like I don't even,
Yeah.
yeah, like two other bands have happened since then as far as like the touring bands. Um and I
And you
was
put
going
out
through,
a bunch of records
oh yeah,
and
a bunch of records, yeah. And then like tons and tons of touring. But then I moved from San Francisco to Los Angeles, which was like a huge deal for me because so much of my identity was San Francisco. Um both personally and professionally. So
right.
it was like it was really hard for me to do that, but I'm so glad I did because it opened up this other world, and that world, eventually got me my manager, who I just love. He's just like number one guy. And then he got me signed to Network Records, and it's like, and finally I have like a creative partner, I feel, you know, because
Mhm.
like the other labels, they were either too small or too big to really focus on me. You know, it's like a label like Tricycle literally does everything they possibly can, but they just don't have a huge reach, you know. But then
Mhm.
when I signed to Modern Art, that was like an upstream label,
Yeah, they're a
which
huge
means,
label.
yeah,
A
like
huge.
they're it's like Atlantic, which is under
Yeah.
Warner. So it's like the hope is you do all the work yourself, and then you become successful on your own, and then we grab you and we take all your money. So
Right.
like
Then we boost you up to the Atlantics or the Warner
yeah,
Brothers.
and then if you don't succeed there,
We'll
your
shelf you.
career's over. So it's really intense, you know. But yeah, the major label scene, I mean, it's just so intense. So to find a label that like has a big reach and works really hard and has other great bands and is creative, like I don't know, honestly, it's like it's a dream come true, because like I have a, you know, A&R person over there, and I just like deeply value his opinion, you know, which
Mhm.
is not what you're used to. You're just like, you know, A&R people they're supposed to be an asset. They're supposed to come into the studio and improve your music, you know. But the what usually happens is they come into the studio and then they ruin it, you know. But it's like so that's what I love about, you know, in indie labels, is that there's artists there, you know.
Mhm.
So I feel like I have this whole team of people that I work with on every aspect of everything, the visuals, and like we're always just like, and I just feel like they're just working towards taking the stuff out of my brain and making it a reality, and it's just so fulfilling. But so that happened um mid pandemic, actually. So
Oh,
I
really? So you
yes,
signed with them mid-pandemic?
yeah, I was like going full DIY again. You know,
Mhm.
I did the whole crowdfunding thing, and then that was a disaster because I chose Pledge Music instead of Kickstarter. Um and Pledge Music went bankrupt. So
Oh, yeah,
they
didn't they have something happen with them? Like I don't know, some like scandal or no?
yes, bad, I don't
Okay.
know what, but like bad things happened with them, and then they
Yeah.
kept the money.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
like I did all this like year of work, and you work so hard for that. And then my fans, thinking they were supporting me directly, paid their
They l
hard-earned cash. They got their stuff, but the reason they did it was to
to
help
support
me.
you.
Yeah,
Right.
to like, you know, I can go on tour longer. I could, you know, and like, and they just kept the money. And that was like devastating. That was the last thing that happened to me in San Francisco. And then, so then I like came down here. I put out an EP called New Jersey, which was sort of
Mhm.
like that my return, my first step back into like, I no longer care about like career steps or like trying to get popular, you know, like because I want to be humongous, you know what I mean? Like I want to be in everybody's stereo, you know, like
Right, of course.
that's my dream. Yes, of course it is. Why else would I do this? It's like, oh, I thought, you know, I only want to play to, you know, it's like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
I just want to spread this thing all over the world. Um, but I kind of like lost the thread a little bit because of that desire, I think, you know.
Mhm.
I stopped focusing on what actually gets you that, which is the work, you know. um so then New Jersey was my return to being like, you know what, screw everything, I'm just gonna make like weird songs that I really want, that I want people to like, you know.
Mhm.
Not like, oh, I hear this is popular, I'm gonna try to incorporate that into my song. So then that was a really important step on the journey. That was a really great tour as well. Then it was like, okay, we're back home.
Was
Tour's
that the
over.
tour with, Tokyo Police Club? Or is that
No,
a different
that
tour?
was maybe mid Ghost Modern tour, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Yeah. Um but I mean that was awesome too. But that was like, you know,
A fair bit earlier.
yeah.
Got
Um,
it.
and then let's see. So then I think I was just like writing, I was just like in my writing phase, and I had written almost everything that was on my new album, Down and Out in the Garden of Earthly Delights, the one that's coming out.
Coming out.
Um, will it still be coming out by the time this is released, or when is this gonna come out?
We're shooting. I think the week of the 8th, it's gonna
Oh,
come out.
perfect. Okay, so yes, when you're listening to this, it'll be out in a few days.
Yes, exactly.
um, it's almost as if that was orchestrated. So I had all those songs and a lot. Like the album has like 21 songs on it or something like that,
Really?
which is
Wow.
insane in this day
That
and
is a
age.
lot of records, or a lot of songs on one
Yeah.
record.
And it's like, because now is like singles
Mm-hmm.
time, EP time. Like you just release small chunks and then just constantly. But I
Right.
just like I don't know. I was just like adamant about I'm releasing a work, like a piece of work. I'm not releasing something in service of my career. Like I do this because I need to, because I need to make these things and it's very important to me. So I'm making an album, a double album.
Yeah, I was gonna say not an album, but more like a
Yeah.
double
Like even
disc.
something in the heyday of albums that was stupid. Like where they were just like, you mean people it costs the same but it costs us twice as much? It's like, yes.
Right.
Thank you.
You mean it's gonna be
um
6 vinyls?
yeah, exactly. And they all have to be 180 grams.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. But so I was just adamant about that, and my manager was on board, new manager. And I luckily finished recording it basically like right before, like,
Oh, really?
yeah, because I was going right up against, I mean, that's also like not a lot of lead time to release an album, but I
Mhm.
had like vinyl locked in because Vinyl Moon did like the first run. Um,
Of
and
this
then I
new
was like,
album?
yeah.
Oh, so you are doing vinyl. How many
Oh
discs
yeah,
is it?
yeah. Yep. Well, now
Is
I
it
did
4 discs?
it is, yeah. No,
Okay.
no, no, no. It's
Just
two,
2?
four sides. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I think. Am I wrong about that? No, no, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. One is like really like this deep blue, and then the other is a cream. And it's so cool. The
That
vinyl
is
just
awesome.
looks gorgeous. But yeah, so I was like bouncing back and forth to San Francisco because I didn't really have a foothold here yet. I had
Mhm.
a couple people that I liked working with. Then my manager introduced me to a couple people, but I still had my favorite people in San Francisco. So I was like staying with friends in San Francisco, and recording the album, So it's like one song at a time. So I would
Mhm.
like, I'd book studio time, get my drummer in. He recorded like all of his drums to all the songs, right? And then I was like, okay, I'll do the vocals at this studio in LA, and then the guitar at this studio in San Francisco. Then my friend from tour will mix it, and so it was like really scattered.
Okay.
Like doing the credits for this was very very intense. It was like
Yeah.
almost as intense as mastering it. But I also like have never worked like that before, where I got so many people involved, like so
Mhm.
many friends, so many minds, like so many people that I respect their choices, um because there always comes a point in writing a song, well, more an album, not every song, but most songs I'm like, all right, I got this as far as I can, but it's not as good as I want it to be. But I don't have it within me to make it any better. So then I'm
Mhm.
like, take it to a producer, or even just a mix engineer who will like intelligently mix it and be like, oh, this needs a different hi-hat pattern. And you're like, got it. And
Mhm.
like that's the thing that makes it fall into place. Or, which I did the first time, not the first time ever, but just like where I brought a song in that didn't exist, where it was just a song. Like, because usually I arrange them all myself. I like, use these synths and everything I record most of my records at home before I bring it into the studio. And then I bring all the stems in, and then I
Oh,
re record
interesting.
what I need to.
Mm-hmm.
and I do the vocals and the guitars and the drums there. Now that I have my own studio, I mostly can do everything myself, but that's all happened because of COVID, you know, where I was like, I have to keep making songs. So finally had to figure out how to do everything myself. And I can do everything except like a drum kit in here. Um, but yeah, so I had that experience where I also wrote a song with like other people, which I truly had never done before, you know?
Oh, wow.
And that was really exciting. I started doing that a lot in LA, just like, oh, what does that mean you write a song with other people? Cuz like coming from the world that I came from is so far removed from the music industry that, you know, breaking in, it's very surprising that you're like, wait, you mean like you don't like get all bent out of shape and feel sad and write a song? Like you just like write a song on purpose, you know, like
Yeah.
with a preset subject matter? Like I was just like very confused, but wanted
Uh-huh.
to try it. And I had a bunch of friends who like gave up on the band thing because they were like, this sucks. Like, and they're just like, this is not a great life.
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna write songs now for other artists or for TV and stuff. And I just kind of like they just sort of like took me under their wing and would
Mm-hmm.
loop me in on their sessions. And then I really liked doing it. And one of those songs became well, I can't even think of the name. Oh, but there's a anyway, it was a one-off that I released between a couple of my albums, and it was actually got pretty popular, which is funny that I can't remember the name. But I wrote it with those guys and then actually liked it, because I always thought of like those writing sessions as like you write songs that I mean I can sing the song. Oh, Get There Soon. Okay, great.
Okay. I was gonna look for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Um Yeah, and because I was like, you write these songs and you don't like them, you don't care about them, but you know, you make some money, right? It's like that's fine. But this one, I was like, wait a second, this is way better than I could have written by myself. And it's like obviously because you wrote with two other like songwriters who are really great,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I learned it's not evil to write with other people. It doesn't dumb down your creativity; it actually lifts your creativity. So I still obviously like writing all by myself, but there was a couple songs on this new album that they just weren't there, you know? And it was like I was like, I love this song, but it doesn't have a chorus, so I guess I can't put it on. And then my manager hooked me up with this artist Evelyn, and she came to my old house um and just like saved 3 songs in one day.
Wow.
And we basically like wrote an entire song, Hollow. Basically wrote that entire song that day and then did 2 others. It was like amazing. Like I had the instrumental almost totally done, and then she was just like, "Oh, I love this song." Well, it was like, "Ooh," and I was like, "I love that." And then it's just so fun. It's like because it gets really lonely to just like to
Mm-hmm.
just be alone making your music. Very sad, not very fun. Not the reason why we got into music instead of novel writing, right?
Right. If you wanted to sit alone, you could just write a
Yeah, I
novel.
could just eat my beans in my shack behind my house and just write, you know?
Write a novel.
Just write a novel. Good for you. And yeah, but music is a celebration. You write the thing and then you celebrate it for the rest of your life if you're lucky.
Sure.
But so that happened a lot, and then I also wrote Alibi from the new album was one I wrote. Did not intend to put that on the album. I was just like, I just really admired this guy Taylor Locke. Like he just because I worked with him on he produced and mixed Lonely from my Alone Time EP, which
Mm-hmm.
is one of my favorite songs I've ever made. And it's just like one of those songs that just like under the radar, you know? It's like it's very odd how that happens where like the songs I'm most proud of are very rarely the ones that connect to humanity the most. And
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting. And I'm trying to figure out why that is, you know? I mean, Kites, when I wrote that, I was like, this is my favorite song I've ever written. This is the best song I've ever written. And then it was also
A
people's favorite song.
huge, yeah, a
Made
huge
sense.
song.
But like ever since then, I think it's like because my achievement when I'm achievement focused, I'm like, it has nothing to do with connecting with humanity. You know, when I'm,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a conversation with myself is maybe why. I'm just like trying to figure this out with you.
Mm-hmm. I
Because
like it.
yeah, because because I think a lot about what's the purpose of a song, why, or art in general. When is art good? And why do people connect with it? And I think it's because we forget that, you know, just to go back to Tilla Quintily, Ivory Eyes, we are all connected. You know,
Mm-hmm.
literally every particle in our bodies is a part of the whole. And it's no different than the particles in this microphone or the particles in a moon in some distant galaxy. Like, we are all part of something. You can't deny that, you know? So, but we do deny that.
Mm-hmm.
We isolate ourselves, and we think that we are so separate and individuated, you know, that we love remembering how connected we are. It is such a soothing feeling. It's like just letting the river take you. So then a really good piece of art, or like a mediocre piece of art, will tell you that we're all connected. But a really good piece of art will ask the question, like, are we connected? And then lead you to make the conclusion yourself. And like how that's done is still, I'm still formulating that. These are literally thoughts that I had like 2 nights ago after finishing Battlestar Galactica for the first time. Because I lost my mind. Like, I watched the finale of Battlestar Galactica and I like had a nervous breakdown. Just like, because it was so sad, and I connected to it so much. I won't spoil it for anybody, but I just like, I bawled all night, and just like,
Wow.
and just had so many revelations just about, you know, myself, about life. But why did that affect me so much? Why did I connect to that? What does it mean? How could I connect to something that a totally different person I've never met wrote? We
Mm-hmm.
can't be that different, can we? You know? And then
Right.
it's like that universal thread that runs through humanity. That's what you're trying to jump on. And then
Mm-hmm.
now I understand what people like Keith Richards say when they're like, "Oh, I didn't write the song, man. It came to me." You know, it's like, I would always be like, "Fuck you. You wrote it."
Right.
You know, but
Right.
now I'm
Right.
like, I understand. You're a conduit. You have a sensitivity, a heightened sensitivity to like, you sort of can like dip into the psychotic kaleidoscopic nightmare dream that is existence. Like, you're just like, "Oh my God." And then you like come back to the real world. And if you can take that and bring it back to people in a way that they can experience in a safe way, because it's not entirely safe to be an artist. Your life can kind of suck, you know,
Right.
because you
The
open yourself
chances
up.
of it of not
Yes,
making it is very high.
exactly. And just on a you know, personal level, you open yourself up to like pretty wretched emotions and like terror, you know, and like just the things
Criticism.
that comprise your songs. Yes, exactly. Um, And so if you can bottle that, that's what I think they mean, where they're just like, yeah, I'm a conduit. I can see more than other people. I obviously can't, I don't know what I'm seeing, but
Mhm.
here it is, you know, because no, you're never going to have truth or anything like that. It's just, you want to taste truth. You don't want to understand it because you can't, you know,
Mhm.
it would explode your mind. Like when people say to me, "Oh, you have the voice of an angel." I'm like, correction. I have a feeling if you ever heard an angel's voice, your brain would literally explode. Like, I imagine angels sound terrifying. Like, it's just like, "Whoa," like,
So nothing like we
yeah, it's
compare
not
them to.
pretty. It's not a
Yeah.
pretty sound. It's like an otherworldly, horrific sound.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to hear the record. I can't believe it's that many songs, man. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
I just went for it. And then I put bonus songs on too. So it was like,
Wow.
because I just knew, like, I write constantly. So I, you know, for now, I'm never in a position where I'm like, oh my God, I have to write songs. And then if I am in that position, I'll just call up my friends and we'll write a couple songs. Like, I feel
Yeah.
relaxed about it. So I think it's okay for me to put, just put it all out there, you know, of just like,
Mhm.
this is the period of my life here it is. And I love that. And I think that's why I connect so much to this album. Because of COVID, I had to cancel the release of the album, I had to cancel the tour.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to go to Oakland to rehearse with my drummer, and when lockdown, not lockdown, but like the first warnings happened, and I was like, I don't know if I feel like going to Oakland and staying in someone's house. This is getting a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like it feels unsafe. And so I canceled rehearsals, which was like insane. And then a week after that, total
Everything's
lockdown.
shut down.
So then I had to cancel the tour. Really traumatic. I like the way I coped with that was I did a weekly live stream. Because like it was
Okay.
such a traumatic time to be a
Yeah.
human being. It was really frightening. Really frightening. Like now we're used to it. We're like, oh yeah, you could be killed by anyone. It's like
Yeah.
we're used to that. Like people who love you could kill you by mistake.
Right. Have you seen the new Dave Chappelle stand up on Netflix?
I haven't watched
The
it yet. I was a little
controversial one.
nervous to watch it.
Yeah, I watched it the other night. I mean, it's he does take it a little far, and even
Sure.
even the crowd is like not laughing
Woo.
a lot of
That
it.
stuff
But
makes me so uncomfortable.
yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable. But he does have a joke because he had COVID, and he makes a joke about
Oh.
how like he maybe have killed like 1,000 people because of just just being around, not knowing that he had
God.
because it was before it became this big thing. But he was like, yeah, I was feeling
Whoa.
sick, and then I found out that I ended up having it, and he's like, and I'm shaking hands and saying all these people because it wasn't like a thing yet, and like it's just
Oh my God.
I just thought of what you just said, like
Yeah,
anyone
you're just like a mass murderer.
you could be, you know what I
It's
mean? It's
so
crazy.
intense. It's so intense.
Yeah.
I bet he's like struggling with that, and that's why he made it a joke.
Yeah, because I never thought of that. I mean, knock on wood, I
Agreed.
haven't got it, but
Yeah.
it's like one of those things that you can't help to think about. Now I wouldn't have thought of it until he said that. I was like, oh
Yeah,
damn,
exactly. You're like, damn responsibility.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry to go on that tangent, but
No,
it was
no,
just
that's
like,
okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought of that. I was like, whoa, yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah, it was psychotic. It was
Mhm.
totally psychotic. I'm like wiping my groceries with an alcohol wipe. It's like
Right.
I'm weird and I'm very scared of getting sick, but I'm not quite that weird. But it's like, and then you thought that's what you had to do, then you didn't have to do it. You can't leave your house, which honestly for me wasn't that hard until it was, until you're just
Same
like,
with me. I'm like, I'm such an introvert. I'm like,
exactly.
I can stay at home and don't have to talk to people. This is
Yeah. So I
sign
just
me
wrote
up.
tons of songs, I made like an entire ambient album that
Really
may never be released. I released them all on YouTube.
I'll
But
have
I
to
just
check
like
that
wanted
out.
to like,
I love that like ambient. That's why
yeah,
I like listening to like film scores because it's cool.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. It's just
most of what I put on honestly is just like Brian Eno's Another Green World. It's just
I
like
love
most
it.
because it's just like I want to relax and be extremely stimulated. It's very rare that ambient music does both those things.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I'd start doing a weekly live stream just like for free on all platforms. Like kind of like a dumb thing to do where you're just like really spread it thin, but I just really wanted to connect with people, and I knew it meant a lot to like a small group of people, that
Mhm.
like I knew how I felt and that I was uniquely positioned to deal with this situation where I didn't need to leave my house as much as other people do because I'm used to it. I'm used to just spending all my time alone working.
Mhm.
But not a lot of people are like that. So then it became this really special thing for all of us, like me and the fans. And I did that until like maybe August.
Wow.
Yeah, every single week. And that really helped me get through like a lot.
Mhm.
Then it was like, okay, I gotta stop doing this because this is gonna last a long time, and I sort of have to make an income, So then it was like, okay, live streams aren't free anymore, It's like trying to figure out how that all works and like, will
Yeah.
people look at that as a concert, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, but then I threw myself more into writing songs for TV shows
Oh,
and
cool.
commercials.
Like sync
Um,
stuff.
yeah, and I landed a couple really big ones, and I was like asked to write a song for New Amsterdam, a TV show.
Really?
And yeah, and I wrote When Will I Belong, which is, one of my most popular recent songs and
Yeah.
one of my favorite compositions. And that was a really unique moment for me too, because I was like, oh, this actually helps me write a song where they're like, all right, we want it to be really personal. And like, here's a bunch of words like that could maybe tip something off for you. Like, these are like touch points, like this kind of vibe. We want it to be, personal, but not about love, which is like such a great challenge because it's
Hmm.
so easy to just throw a you in there. And I did,
And I
but
did.
I really kept it universal, and I kept it off love, but they were adamant that it had to be personal. So it was like a really unique request, and it just helped me write this song I never would have written. So it's like, and then that went on the album. So the album was able to grow a little bit in that time as well. And then it gave me time to just release pretty much half of the songs, an
On the
album's
record.
worth of songs as
Yeah, you've released
singles.
a lot of singles.
Yeah, and there's still half an album to come. It's amazing.
That
I
is cool.
Yeah. And then I started the network signing process, which was like a
Mhm.
long process, obviously, talking with them, getting to know them, like starting to feel comfortable with them, and like, then the back and forth of like the actual contract. It takes a really long time, even though everybody's like, yep, good to go. And then you're just like, okay, another revision, like little things.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then that happened. So that was like a huge that just really changed my pandemic, basically, to be like, wow, I have reached a new height here somehow. Like, when all these horrible things are happening and I'm alone in my room and I'm not in touch with my like raison d'etre. I can't like go on tour, I can't perform, I can't do anything, but yet, you know, things are still moving on. And then I had gotten together with a creative director, Ross Nickel, um, at Off Season Creative, and this is the first time I ever did that. Was like, because now that I'm in LA, it's sort of like people down here do things for real. Like they're like the image is very, they people really focus on image here, and it can go wrong when that's all they focus on.
Mhm.
But when you have already yourself and your identity, like I have often been frustrated that I've never been able to present my image in a way that I feel matches the quality of the music, just because I like don't have that brain, or at least I didn't until I really had to work it during the pandemic. And with this guy Ross, who like really, we really worked on the image side of it together, and we kept it very like, I was really into like Bauhaus posters and
Okay.
like gallery kind of things. And so he was just happened to be really into that too. We had a lot of meetings where we were just like, oh, like, oh my God, like you're into this. I'm so into this. Just sending each other stuff back and forth, like really diving into the visual aspect of things, picking a font, picking a color, picking a theme, and then just like challenging ourselves to one up ourselves every single. It's like the first single, Slave to Rhythm, probably my favorite piece of artwork from the whole thing. But then we're like, okay, we got to try to do something better and something really different. Then eventually Ross, he was like, well, the album was supposed to come out like 6 months ago. I have to do other things. So he was like, I was like, all right, well, I feel like you have sensei'd me a lot, and maybe I can like, I have the art department at Network now that they can like help fill in the blanks of my lack of Photoshop skills, but maybe I can take, the templates that you've made me, the inspiration that you've given me, and I can like kind of make some of these myself. So the last couple singles, I actually designed those covers myself, which is
Oh,
not
very
something I
cool.
ever would have thought to do. And I'm like making all my posters and my I got really into adding text to like Instagram stories. Like I just got really into design. um and my girlfriend taught me Photoshop and Premiere, so now I'm like editing. I edited my last music video. um
Wow.
yeah, it feels great to be able to do everything, whether or not it's the best person who can do it. I hate being beholden upon another person, because then that just sometimes they can't do it and then it can't get done. So I'm just like, I love feeling like, okay, if no one can do it, I will do it. It will be a B minus, but I'll do it. You know,
But yeah,
it's
but you
like,
have the skill, right? You can do it
exactly.
if need
So I
be.
don't have to be held back. You know, it's
Right.
like, you know, you have a modest budget for a music video. Editing costs quite a bit, you know, and it's essential. But for me, I'm like, one thing I do have is time. You know, like I'm willing to stay up until 5 a.m. for a week, you know,
Yeah.
and just like edit this thing. So and I'm free. So it's like I just basically like learned how to do it over the course of the pandemic, just like putting together all these like performances that I made and little videos. And then this one was like the big one. And yeah, my girlfriend helped me a lot, you know, with a lot of feedback. She's a creative director.
Okay. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it's great. And she and I have this awesome, like we met a few weeks before, not a month before the pandemic, and got together like a few weeks before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
And she moved into my apartment because it was
Oh.
like, I was like, pretty sure we're falling in love and we won't be able to see each other unless you move in with me immediately.
I like it.
And it was totally insane, but so was the time. And like, yeah, we made the right choice. You know, it's like, I hate to think what it would have been like, you know, but now we live together on purpose.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, we have this awesome creative relationship. She like takes all my photographs and did my last 2 music videos. Yeah.
That's super cool. And I can't wait. Like I said, I can't wait to hear the rest of this record.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much, man, for taking time to hang out with me
Oh,
today.
this was fun. Yeah. You really made me feel comfortable. I feel like I just talked for 2 hours straight.
That's the point, man. They want to hear your story, not mine. I have one more question for you, though. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Concentrate on the product. And I mean that like every step of the way. Like concentrate on writing the best song you possibly can and producing the best song you possibly can at every moment. Like, because things truly will fall into place from that. Like, and even if you are concerned with the visual aspect, great. I think you should be, because that's half of it. But concentrate on making it awesome rather than making it popular. Because the second you start thinking about, oh God, am I popular? You lose track with your creativity, with everything, and people can feel it and they don't like it. We like authenticity, so just be authentic. Bringing it backward.